books for making payment of $1, that is a different aspect. Case study 7B. A Limited as an overseas venture engaging in marketing of products of A Limited in the overseas territory. Number of payments are made by A Limited on behalf of overseas venture in India and outside India. These are in the nature of facility management, traveling, payments made on behalf of overseas venture with suppliers, etc. A Limited approached CTC to advise them on the nature of transaction and its validity of FEMA. A. Is it a loan transaction from A Limited to overseas venture? B. Is it a temporary advance? C. Is it a capital account or a current account transaction? Kindly discuss. Very simple case study. Answer is very imminent. Everyone will be able to answer. But how to arrive at this answer? That's the process of the law. That is the interpretation. That is my subject matter. No solution can be granted that this is the correct solution. I am repeating because I have been named that I am aggressive sometimes. But I am only trying to give away whatever I think I should give away without any reservation. So please, these are only possible solutions. This is only process, but these are not the solution. See, again, every time you want to see whether it is capital account transaction, current account, just read the law. Just read the law. The fourth bullet, current account transaction under FEMA is defined as under. As per section 2J of Foreign Exchange Management Act, means a transaction other than a capital account transaction without prejudice to generate the following. Such transaction includes, one is important, number one is important, Roman 1. Payments due in connection with a foreign trade, other current business services, and a short-term banking and credit facilities in the ordinary course of the business. You have answer, I believe. You don't need to go to 2, 3 and 4. It's a facilities. It's a short-term credit facilities. It's not restricted anywhere else. Under guideline of borrowing in notification 3, which is foreign exchange borrowing, and notification 4 on the rupee borrowings. It is not restricted in the deposit regulation of notification 5. So 3, 4 and 5 deals with the borrowing and lending. None of the notification, none of the regulations of the notification restricts this transaction. And it is specifically covered under the current account transactions. So therefore, the same analogy we used for the purpose of export, that where there I did not get 2J on the site, that payment due in connection with a foreign trade means export is a current account transaction. You don't find that transaction anywhere in the list either of NRI or of RIs in notification 1. You don't see that because they are current account transactions. See, that's a conformity test. If you believe something, then law will tell you what is the conformity test. Look at some other place, whether they are prohibited, whether they are considered otherwise. So these transactions are not considered otherwise as a capital account list at all. Like we could not see export and trade receivables under the notification 23 under the definition of export. Is that clear to you? It may be noted from the wording of section 2A1 as reproduced here that a transaction of A Limited with an overseas venture may be covered as current account transaction, and therefore they may be settled periodically within 12 months from the time to time. Because 12 months is a customary, it is a short-term credit. 12 months is a working capital. When you also, when you have to consider the repayment of loans, the next installment due within 1 year, sometime you transfer it to the short-term credits. If you recollect your olden days, that this is now forming part of the working capital for the next year. It has, when you compute, so what is the working capital requirement next year? Then you consider the installment due in next 1 year is a part of the working capital. It's a short-term credit facility. It's a short-term advance. So therefore, considering that as a clue, general knowledge, if it is clear in 12 months, now nowhere it is written now. Please don't consider this as a solution. Nowhere it is written 12 months. This is only based on experience, based on general knowledge as you all have, I'm saying if you clear it from time to time in 12 months, I don't see any problem because you are sufficiently covered, safeguarded by definition 201, and you are sufficiently covered by not finding any inclusion in capital account transaction list. Is that clear to you? Seven C. It is in connection with the export house. Export house considering a proposal to form a overseas venture. Why? Why it want to form a joint venture or a venture abroad? See, it is sending various goods outside India. It is receiving the goods proceeds also in time, but there is a mismatch. Sometimes they find a cash crunch and they are not able to receive in time. So question arises to whether they can form an overseas venture outside India and capitalize the goods so that they don't have to receive money for the capitalized goods. That helps them in the working capital cycle. So what happens, when you capitalize goods to the overseas venture, you don't have to receive money for that particular goods because it is capitalized. Then when you send next goods, you must have received the money for the first goods because that is also sold by you, right? So you are able to pay the next purchase in time. Therefore the question is whether you can capitalize the goods abroad and reduce your mismatch positively. That is the question. And the second question is, if you can reduce that mismatch, can you do it through a company in India or you want to do as an export house which is a proprietary company, proprietary concern just now. It is a proprietary concern. A large export house has two distinct registration trading house with DGFT, one as a company and another as a proprietary business. So currently they are doing business to a proprietary concern. So that's the question is whether you can do an overseas venture or not, and second is whether you should do it from a company point of view or from the proprietor point of view. How can this be accomplished in the FEMA? Regulation 11 of Notification 120 very clearly permits you that you can capitalize any entitlements from abroad in terms of export of goods, in terms of royalties, in terms of fees or any other dues in the ordinary course of business to a foreign venture. You can capitalize provided that they are not overdue. If they are not overdue, they are within the time of receipt, 6 months or 1 year, whichever is given to the export house. Normally export house gets 1 year time to realize the receivables from abroad for the purpose of export. So if those dues which are not overdue, where the outstanding not for more than 1 year, they can form a company abroad and capitalize those receivables also. Not only goods, those receivables can also be capitalized. Therefore, either by fresh remittance of goods by way of export to the foreign company or by capitalizing the non-overdue receivables from abroad, Indian company can remove the mismatch. Second question is whether company is better or the proprietary concern is better. You know that the capitalization of export of goods by a proprietary concern as an export house is covered by Regulation 19A of Notification 120. 19A of Notification 120. You will not find this 19A, 19 and 20 in Master Circular. Duty of the law. I am informing you just so that it may help in a little way, whichever way you think about it. Because of late, Master Circular has become the law of the land and the practice for the professionals. So therefore, the condition laid down by 19A is it's a prior approval route of Reserve Bank of India, first of all. Whereas a company going abroad is the automatic route, as you already know. Then the condition prescribed on a proprietary concern is, on an export house, is that you can capitalize only 10% of your average realization in last 3 years. Then KYC has to be proved to the satisfaction of the bankers and other conditions on a year-to-year basis. And if you do company, you don't have to follow all these export turnover guidelines and etc. for the purpose of capitalizing abroad. So therefore, to my mind, company route is a better for the export house than the proprietary route. 200% of the net owned funds, they are using net owned funds, not the net worth here, because it is a proprietary concern. There won't be any capital and reserves, perhaps. Proprietor's current account cannot be used, net owned funds.
Large amount cannot be adjusted.
I mean, there are various infirmities. Prior approval route, again. Prior approval route, if you see the application to be made to Reserve Bank of India, it will take at least 10 days to make application. And this is again to authorize there. You are not in directly touch with the Reserve Bank of India. Yeah, so there is a lot of difficulty. Then we come to next case study within 7C. The chartered accountant firm want to capitalize freeze receivable to incorporate WS outside India. What it says, that a chartered accountant firm has to receive from various firms and clients from UK. The law says, notification 120, regulation 19, then you can capitalize only 50% of the receivables and you can take only 10% equity in that company from which it is receivable. So you have to capitalize the client's company. How can a client become a joint venture partner for you? So the law advises is that you are only dealing or working to another chartered accountant firm outside India. Because they say only 50% of the receivables should be capitalized with the same company from which it is to be received. Which is not there in the language in regulation 11, where you are capitalizing goods. Here you are capitalizing services. So you can capitalize only company from which it is receivable, and you can capitalize only about 10% equity of the foreign company. So that is the law. The second question was asked to you is, can you form a company in Mauritius and capitalize these receivables and form the company? The answer is no, because they are saying only that company can be capitalized and only 10% equity of that company can be considered and not any other company. So that is the answer. But the law is like this, and how stupid the law is. Case study 8, we will skip this case study. Opening project office in India. The only point here is the project office of a foreign company. The project has to be of a foreign company. That is the point in this entire exercise of 8 pages. If a project is not of a foreign company, it cannot be a foreign project office. Because you may have a lot of maintenance contract in India, and you are forming an office in India for various clients to be served on a maintenance side. It cannot be considered as a project awarded to you, because you are serving the after sales services. So that is a distinction I have made in this case study. And because why I made that distinction is, only project office is permitted on an automatic basis, whereas branch and liaison office is a Reserve Bank route. So you can't cross border from one to another in order to avoid the Reserve Bank approval and form a project, so that automatically permitted and you start the business next day. So that is the idea to consider this case study. Is that clear to you? Because you already understood LOBO and PO from none other but Hinesh Bhai Joshi, who is our OB member and expert in this area. Invocation pledge of promoter's share. The question is like this. Indian company were owned by 4 people. 3 resident and 1 Indian. 3 non-resident and 1 Indian. The shares owned by Indian company, shares owned by non-resident were placed to Indian shareholder. for advances of the money to the Indian company, where the non-resident have invested. As if I am a non-resident, Vijay Bhai is a resident, he has advanced me loan against the shares which I am owning in the Indian company, and the money has been granted to Indian company. So my shares as a non-resident are pledged with Vijay Bhai, because Vijay Bhai is resident, I am non-resident. That Vijay Bhai tells me every day. Also Rajan Bhai, whether you are resident or not. Friends, therefore, there is a pledge of shares of a non-resident in favor of a resident for advancing a loan to the Indian company which is owned by non-resident and resident together. Now, question arose as to, when I defaulted, what is the recourse to the Vijay Bhai? That means, when a loan repayment was to be done to Indian company by a non-resident investor, and if they could not repay, then guarantee or a pledge has to be invoked. And what will happen on invoke? What are the procedure involved and why? And what is the meaning of pledge under the FEMA? What are the implications for invocation of pledge? What are the procedure or documentation of FEMA to be observed for the purpose? Is there any implication of FEMA regarding the share transfer fees? Friends, you are well versed with the FDI law, transfer of share. And when a share is transferred from one person to another, resident to a non-resident or a non-resident to non-resident, Form FCTRS is required to be filed within 60 days of the transaction taking place. Are you all aware of this? Okay. So the question is, when the transfer took place, when you have invoked the pledge or at the time of pledge? Very good. You all know the answer. So the question further arises, if a transfer has taken place at the day of the pledge, then I have not filled up the form FCTRS and submitted. So I am in default, isn't it? The fact pattern says that at the time of making a pledge, the Indian resident has taken the approval of Reserve Bank of India because shares were not transferred at that point of time, beneficially transferred in favor of the lender. Therefore, RBI approval was taken, and this is a part of a fact of the question. So now, by stretching that analogy further, that a transfer in my favor takes place and I am beneficially owning the shares only on invocation of pledge. And therefore, within 60 days from the invocation of pledge, I should lodge FCTRS. Now, further question arises that if there are undue or if there are overdue amounts which are not paid by the foreigner, then what happens? Whether it is a part of a consideration or it is outside the consideration. When RBI gave the approval on pledge, RBI will normally consider what is the price of the shares under a DCF method and what the amount of loan is granted together with the 1 year installment or 2 year installment of the interest with the margin. So RBI has given approval considering the valuation aspect and the FEMA law at that time, that yes, this loan can be granted with a margin without any difficulty, because valuation of the company is about DCF method for which the borrowing has been granted to the non-resident who has placed the money into the Indian company. So therefore, I have two issues now. The surplus if the surplus can be considered as a part of the value, then you cannot transfer the shares because the valuation is higher than what is approved by the Reserve Bank of India. Isn't it? And if the surplus is not part of the consideration, then there is no implication on invocation of the pledge. And you can straight away within 60 days pledge for the lodge for the transfer of the shares form of CTRS and forget about everything, because pledge itself is a transfer, approval has been given by RBI, there is no implication on invocation. Because 2ZE says that definition of transfer. Transfer includes sale, purchase, exchange, mortgage, pledge, gift, loan or any other form of transfer of right, title, possession or land. Clear? Right? But you become the owner of the shares only on invocation of pledge and not otherwise. So, what about the surplus? See, under normal circumstances, when the guarantee is granted by a party in favor of non-resident Indian, then even in that case also, on invocation, whatever amount is due, is allowed to be reimbursed, irrespective of the original amount of the transaction. So one view is that the surplus to be ignored, and therefore you are fine with the original consideration because transfer has been effected at that point of time, and file FCTR with the original consideration. So there are no implications if you consider that the excess overdue amount is not a part of the valuation. So that's the one view. Yeah. The second view is you approach RBI and say, I have exceeded the payment than the valuation because of the circumstances. Please give me approval to forgo or to consider that as a valuation for the purpose of Form FCTRS. Is that clear to you? Valuation of share in case of transfer, I have discussed that. Documentation required FCTRS. Share transfer and fees, the FEMA. If there is obligation of transfer charges and stamp charges are on an Indian resident, then there are no implication. But if the law is silent, then it is the person who is transferring the shares that is the obligation of that person, the stamp law. Person who is a transferee, he has to pay the stamp duty. And therefore, if an Indian company who is a resident shareholder, who is a lender, he is purchasing the shares and paying the stamp duty, there are no implications. If the loan was from a non-resident and he is transferring the share, that money should have come by way of a remittance into India for the purpose of transfer of the shares and the form of CTRS. Otherwise, it will be considered as a violation of the short consideration. Because or somebody else has paid for you, isn't it? Which is not allowed under the law. Acquisition of immoral property, this is the last case study we will take. 11 we will not take, it is on borrowing. Very complex, but basically to tell you what is the approach when a promoter of an Indian company who is a non-resident promoter wants to give amount to the Indian company with borrowings only and not by diluting his equity stake in the real estate future. Then how could you accomplish it? Then we are running through notification 3, 4, 5, 20, where the possibility of giving loans are available, so that you have complete grasp for the borrowing basically. Right? So you have grasp on borrowing, you have grasp on FDI, you have grasp on overseas investment, you have grasp on fundamental, and you have grasp over FEMA. You can start practice from tomorrow. An Indian citizen resident in Iran gets immovable property in India by way of inheritance from his parents resident in India. Can he hold such property? What if above property is agricultural land? Can he carry out agricultural activities? We have already discussed this while we were discussing the straight jacket and immovable property issues. I have reproduced that regulation 3123. A person who is resident in Iran but Indian citizen is a non-resident Indian. Regulation 3 applies. Regulation 4 is only for the purpose of PIO, so it applies to only PIOs. So regulation 3 will apply to you. Can he hold inherited property? He is a non-resident Indian, right? What? And when we talk about agricultural property, we have to see the provision which enable you to acquire any immovable property. Any immovable property. So any immovable property is only second. A person resident outside India who is a citizen of India acquire other than agricultural, right? Transfer any immovable property and transfer any immovable property other than agricultural. So only second, 3B is relevant. Transfer a non-resident can transfer any immovable property in India to person resident in India only. He cannot transfer property person resident outside India. So therefore, agricultural land to be transferred to a NRI is not permitted under the inheritance mode. When a transfer is mentioned, you assume that there are all modes of transfer are included. Normally you will find a transfer by gift, transfer by sale, transfer by inheritance, transfer otherwise. All the four modes will be separately mentioned in each and every notification, in each and every regulation when a transfer is contemplated. The gift, sale, acquisition is treated differently. It's a very, very tight compartment. It's a transfer, all modes of. Transfer by gift, only transfer by gift is included, transfer by sale is not included. Is that clear to all of you? So this is the infirmity, this is the difficulty in this case. Normally, inheritance is a right under the law. Can FEMA override such a law? We have already discussed. Answer could be yes for all the three questions. However, Indian citizen may approach RBI for the clarity, which we have already discussed. Friends, this makes me to come to borrowing by Indian company, which we have discussed, and we will not consider this case study for the purpose of discussion, but we'll open the floor for question and answer for next 5 minutes. And thank you very much for patient hearing.
Are there any more questions? There would be many. Paresh, you mentioned about notification 120 and existing company requires valuation. How do you see a situation where a foreign company has been incorporated, say just 6-8 months ago, and there are no activities? Would you say that it is an existing company and therefore need valuation, or you can simply go and subscribe it's a new company? How do you treat practical?
Very simple question, but a complicated answer. If you say the law on FDI and law on overseas investment, so far as the valuation is concerned, are different. The FDI prescribes the DCF based valuation or a SEBI guideline based valuation and no other valuation. Whereas overseas investment does not prescribe any method. It says any method prescribed, any method invoked as may be certified by a chartered accountant or an investment banker as the case may be. So therefore, Regulation 6A for the purpose of valuing the existing company, or Regulation 15 or Regulation 17 for the purpose of disinvestment of an overseas company share does not prescribe any valuation methodology. Whatever is certified by a chartered accountant or the investment banker as the case may be, based on the methods invoked, will be sufficient compliance. Any other view?
Sir, in the case of liquidation,
You have a different view or different question?
different view.
Okay, thank you.
In the case of a liquidation, in the case of a disinvestment per se, the valuation methodology must be based on the latest audited balance sheet.
Right.
In the case of a investment per se, there is no valuation methodology is prescribed. So there is a difference when we invest abroad and then we disinvest the
No, I am differing with you that they are only saying latest balance sheet. They are saying what basis you should adopt for the purpose of your valuation. That's all thing, not basis. What document you should look into. They are specifying what an accountant should look into the accounts. That's all. But not basis, not your mind, how do you want to value the shares.
That's a reference.
It's an old cautious regulator, you know. Can two or more individuals become original promoter of a company to be incorporated in foreign country with one local director in foreign country, of course with 100% share capital? That's a question number 1. Question number 2, or he is not sure whether this is done, therefore he is asking second question. Can two or more individuals take over a company incorporated outside India with at least one director local, of course here also 100% share capital? So this is the first question in alternate form. Then there is a third question which is standalone. So I am answering both these together. Two or more individuals become an original promoter of a company to be incorporated in a foreign country. Answer is yes. You are allowed under liberalized remittance scheme circular dated 14th August 2013 that an Indian individual can form an incorporated company abroad under the FRS scheme. So two individuals sending either 75,000 or 150,000 will work, because the limit is individual wise. So one individual can remit 75, another can remit 75,000 and form a foreign company. There is no bar on this. And you can have one local director, there is no problem. You can have 100% shareholding.